everybody, and welcome to part 2 of the cracked glass tutorial. We are now going to talk more about making some fun embellishments with the cracked glass technique. So I've already gone ahead and made a watercolor background using Lucky Clover faded jeans and peacock feathers. So I'm going to set them aside for the moment. And I've die cut kind of a circle here, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to make some floral embellishments for our circle and then some kind of sentiment, and we're also going to use watercolor paper for that. We'll set that aside, and what we're going to do is going to create a piece of paper that has all kinds of colors, and then we're going to die cut it out, whatever flowers we're going to use and leaves, and then we'll go from there and we'll add some pattern and then use our cracked glass technique to make them all shiny and funky. Alright, and away we go. So I've picked 4 colors. Our Lucky Clover we're going to bring in again for our greenery. We've got Dusty Concord, Seedless Preserves, and Picked Raspberry. We're going to use those inks to create our background here. I've got my water brush. I don't tend to use it like a water brush. I just use it like a brush. I've got some watercolor paper by Strathmore. I've got a couple containers of fresh water. And I'm going to use my acrylic block, and I'm going to put my ink on top and use it like a palette. Let's go ahead and apply our inks to the acrylic block. I'm going to use Lucky Clover in one corner, Dusty Concord in the other. Raspberry, and our little slightly lighter purple are Seedless Preserves. Okay, so it's all loaded on my acrylic block, and now we just get to have fun. I'm going to reserve the end piece for strictly doing my greenery, so I think that's where we'll start. I'm just going to start by applying water, because I think I'm going to start with a wash of color. So I'm just going to scribble it into the area and get it to start doing its thing. Alright. Clean off our brush, and then we'll start the area where we're going to die cut our flowers. Alright, I'm going to make this just a little bit quicker. Use my spray bottle here and just pre-moisten everything. And this is where you get to have fun. You can do whatever you want. Backgrounds are finished, and I've cut them apart just to make things easier to lay dies on. And we're going to use the Eva's Favorite Flowers dies from Winnie and Walter, and I'm hoping no. I'm just going to bend this a little bit, make it a little flatter, so my dies will hopefully stay in one place. We're going to do a couple of leaves. I've actually got some of the dies that aren't actually cut apart yet, so I think we'll use those. I think they're pretty cool. And I don't want flowers that are too big, so I'm going to go with some of the smaller versions for our shapes. And we're not actually going to use the die or the stamps that go with this, so I'm not particularly worried about stamping over top them, because we're going to do some other things. So I'm going to send this through my Big Shot, and we'll be right back in one moment. So we've cut all our leaves and our flowers from our background pieces using our dies, and that's super fun because you can go in. I mean, I still have little pieces that I could go in with some of the smaller shapes and cut out if we need. So we will set these aside because we may need them. But we're going to take it one step forward before we go and take it to be embossed, because I want to add a little bit more interest to them. I love the backgrounds, but let's add a little touch more something to them. So this time I'm going to bring in a scripty font. Now this is a Background Basics stamp from Paper Tray Ink called Textile, and we're going to use that one. And we're also going to bring in the My Favorite Things background stamp called Diagonal Stripes, and we're going to use both of those. Now, I think what we're going to do is maybe use our seedless preserves, and because our pieces are so small, we can literally do this. I can ink up this whole stretch of stamp and this side of our background, and I'm not even looking for perfection, so typically, distress inks are not used for stamping for purposes of getting things accurate and readable. So I'm not too worried about that. And I'm going to mix it up as to what gets what. We'll do all our blooms first, maybe. I think we'll do our leaves. I think I'll just do them with a hint of seedless preserves, and maybe I will put in just a touch of our picked raspberry. So remember, before you do your cracked glass technique, whatever you want to see through that, this is what you want to do to your die cuts. So make sure you draw on your dots, or stamp on them, or ink them up, or distress their edges, or add white gel pen. Whatever your heart desires, make sure you do it to your die cuts before you do the cracked glass. Alright, let's go on to doing that. Now you could go through and hold each one of these with tweezers, but what a pain. So, what better way to do things and make them a lot easier? Take a scrap piece of paper, which I always seem to have hanging around, and put a row of tape down it. And you're going to just apply all of your little itty bitty pieces to this one strip so that you can carry them around when they're hot, and you can do a whole series of them at once. Alright, and you don't really have to worry about the paper underneath because you just throw it out when you're done. So I've got my scrap piece of paper here. I'm going to bring in our Versamark and my UT and hope that they stick. Sorry, I probably didn't press that one down enough. And we're going to sticky up all of those die cuts. Prepare them for our UT. And I'm going to switch out my scrap paper here. So by making sure you have a handle at the end there, we're just going to apply UT to all of our goodies here. And it's okay if it goes in between. There you go. Remember, we've got our orange peel, and we're going to get rid of that on the second round. I'm just going to let them cool a little bit, add some more Versamark, add some more UT, give them a heat, and we'll see if 2 coats will do it. So I finished up adding all of my UT on top of my floral and leaf embellishments, and I'm going to take them to the freezer, and then I'm going to crack them, and we're going to see what we get. So I brought them back from the freezer, And I cracked all of the flowers and the leaves that were on the strips of paper. And I've taken off my leaves because I'm just going to add, hopefully I can get some of our picked raspberry ink into some of the cracks and crevices. You really have to open up the cracks to get ink into them. I find that they tend to go back together, and you don't get a lot in the cracks unless you almost pour like a re-inker into them. So we're going to try and get some of the picked raspberry into the cracks, but not promising anything. Alright, there we go. Push our leaves off, and I'm just going to take a piece of paper towel, wipe off the excess on the top here, because otherwise we'll have picked raspberry ink everywhere. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to get a lot of ink into those crevices, but we tried. Okay. Alright, let's go and put together our card. Alright, so we have our card base here. We have our ring. Now I've already gone and added foam tape to the back of this. And I know I want it up towards the top, but I want to add a little bit of more greenery stamping around on the back before I go and start adhering everything. So I'm going to take a pencil and ever so slightly just trace, just kind of know, so I know where everything is. And I'm going to show you a little sneak peek of the Stamp of Approval Lovely Notes collection. It's just a teeny little leaf, and that's all I'm going to show you. Alright, I'm just using our lovely Lucky Clover, and I'm just holding it down for a little bit just to make sure that that ink transfers onto that paper, because distress inks weren't meant for stamping. That's not to say we can't use them for stamping. Leave it at that. And I know this is a risk, but let's go and add our circle first. I'm just going to trim off the excess tape from the back here. Let's erase our line before I go and adhere anything, otherwise we will never be able to erase it. Okay, now we can adhere it. Now we're not going to use all of the flowers, but we are going to make kind of cluster here, and we'll go from there. Let's adhere those down, and I'll be right back. And here's our final card. I just love the way the crack of that cracked glass adds a little bit of texture, and the gloss of the UD just makes everything shine, almost like putting sequins on. So the next time you look at your die cuts, I want you to look at them. Can I use that for the cracked glass technique? You sure can. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed both my tutorials. Come and join along, and I'd love to see some of your elements made with our cracked glass technique. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day, guys.